Thomas. Welcome to the Progressive Soapbox. So, there's been a fraud case going on. People took the DNC to court, essentially saying they defrauded millions of people who donated money to Sanders. The argument boils down to, we gave our money, we thought it was going to be a fair contest, and you guys cheated, meaning you defrauded us of that particular money. Now, the party's defense to this is pretty damn interesting, and that's what this video is about. The party's defense. And whether or not, this is another verdict episode, whether or not they have merit in that particular defense. Now, the parties understand something, or the Democratic Party understands something that I think most people don't fully grasp, or at the very least, most people haven't thought about it in this particular way. The argument that the DNC has been making is, look, we don't need to have a fair contest. We don't need to necessarily allow these people to be equals in a particular race. We can choose whoever we want in that particular race. And no, we don't have to be impartial. Now, that sounds like an amazing position, right? That sounds like an immensely amazing position to say, yes, we have the authority to lie, cheat, if we need to do that in order to put who we ourselves want in that particular place. Now, here's the catch. The DNC in that case is somewhat right. Now, I'm being very specific to this, so understand what I'm saying. Democratic Party and the Republican Party are just two corporations. Corporations, by their very nature, are dictatorships. Those corporations can set whatever bylaws and rules that they want. Now, oftentimes, people have this mistaken belief that the parties themselves are integral to the government or to the levers of government itself. They're not. They're not. In the same way that you would go to a doctor for your health, or you would go to a chiropractor for your back, or you would hire a driver or bus driver. It's the same thing. The parties ultimately are just a task. They're doing a job. Now, in this case, the levers of government are the levers of government in the same way that a bus is a bus. The party that you chose, or the party that you vote for, is making the case of who should drive that bus. But there's a distinction between the bus and the person driving the bus. Those things are not intrinsically linked to one another. That bus will be perfectly okay, even if that other guy is erased off the face of the earth. The point I'm getting at is, the Democratic Party is right in the very specific case of, we can choose whoever we want for this. If they wanted to, they didn't have to open up the primaries at all. They could have literally, in a smoke-filled room, just said, I want that guy, and that guy's going to run. That has problems associated with it. The reason why they don't do that is because you need people to vote for that candidate. Meaning, yes, they can choose whoever they want in their own primaries, but ultimately, in the main election, you're going to depend upon people to vote for a particular candidate. Ultimately, you want people to believe that they have some part of that particular choice early on. Otherwise, you're going to alienate them when it comes to the election itself. So that's why I'm making this point of saying, in that very specific case, they're right. They can do whatever they want. They can cheat, they can steal, they can lie. They can be completely biased in regards to how they run that particular campaign. They can do that. They can totally do that. It is their prerogative. They're a corporation. Here's the catch. None of that matters. None of that matters. Even though it's true that ultimately corporations are dictatorships, and the DNC is also just a corporation, and it can make its own bylaws and rules. In this very specific case, you had people donating to a candidate, and they donated thinking that the process that they were donating to was fair and honest. Now, yes, the party can do whatever it wants in regards to the rules that it's setting. But if you're telling me that you're impartial, if you're telling me, literally, I'm sending money and you're saying, this process is impartial, this process is fair, but at the same token, you're rigging the election and you're doing things to undermine one of your candidates. Well, that process is not fair. That process is not honest. Even if you have the capability of doing or changing the rules in regards to your own corporation itself or that particular party itself, that has nothing to do with defrauding people who believe that process was legitimate. Meaning, yes, you could have your candidate in a smoke-filled room. Nobody would complain about that. The complaint is, we sent millions and millions of dollars. We dedicated thousands of hours of our time to get somebody elected in what we believed was going to be a fair process. We believed it was going to be a fair process because the DNC itself continuously said, this is a fair process. We're impartial. We're not taking sides. Now, if you're vocally telling me that, you're essentially, to some degree, entering in some kind of agreement of saying, yes, if you give money to this process, if you support our process, we're going to be fair and we're going to be honest in how we deal with the situation. Now, at the point where people are giving their money, they're giving their money to try to get their candidate in office. Not so much that it's going to be a foregone conclusion that the person wins, but they want an honest expression of the money that they're giving to that particular candidate. Now, if you're telling me that this process is fair and impartial, if you're telling me you're being earnest, and I'm sending money into a process based upon me believing that the process is fair, earnest, and impartial, then you've just lied and defrauded me of whatever degree of money that I've sent. That's the problem. It's not so much that the DNC can't make their own rules. They can make whatever rules they want. They do not, in any way, need to have a primary to have people vote for a candidate. They can just pluck a candidate if they wanted to. That is within their right. But if you're telling me that we're going to have an open and honest process, and that if I'm donating money to this particular thing, that money has an opportunity to try to get the person who I want elected into that particular party, well, that goes beyond you just altering rules for your own benefit. That goes to you lying to millions of people and allowing those people to send money when you full well know that that money is not going to get an honest expression because you're rigging the rules to prevent that money from getting honest expression. By definition, it's fraud. It's fraud. You've essentially defrauded millions of people of their vote and of their cash. So no, they don't have a leg to stand on. My verdict is that the DNC is damn guilty. Extremely guilty. If I'm sending money, because I'm trying to nail this down, yes, the DNC can do whatever they want with regards to that particular organization. But the moment that you step outside of the organization and you're telling people, this is fair, this is impartial, we're being earnest, we don't take sides, and we're sending our money to a particular candidate that's in your particular party, how is that not fraud? How is that not fraud? I'm giving you money under false pretenses. Those false pretenses wasn't me thinking a particular thing. It was you telling me something. There would be no difference than if I went to the bank and I took out a loan. And in taking out that loan, I told them I have $100,000 in a trust somewhere. Well, that's a lie. And I'm getting resources and money from the bank itself pursuant to that lie. Meaning, would people have sent their money if they knew that the Democratic Party was going to lie and cheat Sanders? Of course not. Nobody's going to put their money into a process that they know is fraudulent, or if they know it's going to be rigged. So the DNC full well understood, fully understood, yes, we're rigging this process. No, we can't tell people that we're rigging this process. If anybody asks, we're impartial, we're earnest. When those people are sending their money in, they're doing so based upon the premise of that particular person saying we're fair, we're honest, we're impartial. That's what I'm getting at. It's fraud because people are sending money based upon something that the party said, based upon something the party said that was not true, based upon what they were not true. They were able to collect resources, collect funds, including Sanders. People are giving him money. He was running as a Democrat. They're believing this process is earnest. The process is not earnest. They're wasting their money. They wasted millions because ultimately all that money that was given to Sanders did not get the expression that those people wanted. Not so much that Sanders was a foregone conclusion to win. That's not why they were sending money. They just wanted an honest portrayal. Like they wanted to have an honest process. Even if Sanders lost, if you would have an honest process, nobody would complain. Nobody would complain. The problem is that you lied about the process. And in pursuant to that lying, people sent money believing what you were saying about the process being impartial and what you were saying about the process being fair. At the point where people realize, well, this process is not fair, this process is not impartial, they've rigged this particular primary, it was too late. People had already sent their money. People had already invested their time and energy and cash into Sanders. They'd already did it. So yes, you've lied and defrauded millions of people who thought they were going to have a fair shake. And no, in no way was it actually a fair shake. You guys are guilty. You guys are guilty of sin. And ultimately, you can run down the list of things that they did, for the most part, to undermine that particular campaign, whether it's sending stuff in the media or colluding with the media in order to attack Sanders, the throwing 100,000 people off the rolls in his hometown in Brooklyn, stealing Nevada outright, and then trying to cover it by saying people were throwing chairs when they full well knew nobody was throwing chairs, shutting down polling locations in certain states where they expected to have a large turnout. It was one thing after the other. Even the soft voter suppression of putting the campaign or putting the party, necessary party affiliation months and months and months in advance before you even knew who was going to be in the race itself. So, yes, my verdict is the Democratic National Committee is guilty as sin. They don't have a leg to stand on. You can do whatever you want with regards to your particular corporation. That dumpster fire is your sandbox. Have at it. The moment that you step outside that sandbox and you're communicating something to the public, and the thing that you're communicating is allowing that public to send money, believing that your communications are being honest, that's by definition fraud. You lied to those people. Those people sent money and you rigged the process, meaning those people wasted their money. They didn't waste their money willy-nilly. They wasted it based off you saying it was a fair and impartial and honest process. So, alright guys, if you enjoyed the content, feel free to write, share, subscribe, and you can always support the work through Patreon. Thank you.